Look at this world we found ourselves in. Barren, ain't it? Though not lifeless. You might hear the odd crow here or there, the loud grasshopper singing its tune to no answer, and the hum and crack of electricity in the dystopian hellscapes that have been broken down to rubble. I want to have a talk, from me to you. A conversation, if you will, about everything that surrounds the space that you and I currently inhabit at this moment in time. I'm not an expert in sounds, nor am I an expert in design, but there is one thing I know more than anyone. I am an expert in knowing when something has grabbed me in a stranglehold that won't let go. Because the artistry of Limbo put me in limbo. The adventure that you go through in experiencing this world is one that I believe should be experienced for oneself, no matter how much I try to explain its sense of anxious wanderlust. Though I will attempt to do so. Compared to my last video, this will not be very research heavy and might not be as jokey, as it will take some time to focus on the artistry behind the game, the feelings it induced, and why it's so special. I do not intend to waste your time going through each chapter and recounting what happens in it, though I will reflect on some moments that happen throughout. So, a spoiler warning is in order. Now, if you don't mind, I would like to take a second to sit down and listen. How does that make you feel? Is it serene, not eerie, perhaps calming? Personally, it's a mixture that juxtaposes itself. But yet, I feel it all the same. The mix of tranquil, or ease, relaxed, and agitated. Each area that you go through has such a different atmosphere from the last, going from a forest to a cave, to a city, and then a factory, with each one being absolutely humongous in scale, but they always circle back to being sublime. There is never a moment where you don't feel like a small ant, the giant boot hovering over your head. Now, this game isn't specifically a horror game in the traditional sense, but yet, it induces that feeling of unease better than most horror games that strive for even a fraction of what Limbo achieves. And that's due to the fantastic sound design, vague storytelling, and the fields and structures that house it. The echoes of leaves falling and rushing rivers, boulders tumbling down hills, the home and base of the magnetic and electrical fields the factory generates, the shoddy structures of rotted wood and destroyed concrete, with death looming over it all. You go through each one, hearing and seeing all of these and more, without even particularly knowing why. You're only given one thing directly. You're a boy who's lost his sister, and you're now going to go look for her. The rest is rather vague, but yet it induces such a feeling of curiosity, such as the title screen showing a treehouse that's seemingly abandoned, with the faint buzzing of flies. Waking up alone under the shade of the trees, other people wanting to see you dead, giant spiders, and brain-controlling maggots. I want to focus specifically on two aspects that stuck with me the most, with one small honorable mention. Those being the forest and the factory. Within the first second of the character waking up in that forest, I already knew that I wasn't gonna put it down until I finished it. This being the vaguest, yet most beautiful section of the entire game in my opinion, the lighting and the sound design, the different entities you come across, it delivers the beginning of a story where you seem so absolutely lost. You don't know where you start in this world, and you don't know where to go, but all you know is to keep moving forward. When I take a step back and try and think of the story specifically in this section and what it's trying to communicate, it's not enough. And I believe that's by design. On my first playthrough, I kept trying to look for a crumb of what the story might be. I was thinking of what the spider is. Why are these guys attacking me? Why am I in this forest, and why is everything rotting and dead and abandoned? But I could not come to a solid conclusion, and I just had to keep moving forward. That feeling of not knowing why you're even going on this adventure felt so incomplete. Now, that sounds obvious when I say it. However, there isn't another word in my lexicon to describe that curiosity and that anxious feeling of wanting something to be told to you. Anything. As a result, I had no choice but to keep moving forward. And bit by bit, I slowly started understanding what it might be hinting at. But it still never felt like enough. This is what I mentioned, the honorable mention, the hotel. Now, when I arrived at this section, I felt awe and dumbfounded. Awe in the beauty of the scene right before me, but suddenly dumbfounded as this clearly was a hint towards a story that I did not expect. In fact, entering the city felt like, if you excuse me for my lack of better words here, as if I got slapped in the face, in a good way, because we went from dead nature to an entire abandoned city that's right next to a fully functioning factory setup, but there's no one. The only people we've seen were in that forest. Now, the inside of the factory is where the story started to click more and more at a faster rate, with the different game mechanics especially being the main drive for that storytelling. The environment here is extremely hostile at every turn, without question. It is the hardest part of the game, adding new mechanics that were not there at any other point in the game. This part specifically felt the most satisfying in the storytelling aspect, of which I will speak my theory of what the game might be now. Again, I will say this game is best played first without any other interpretations of what the story might be. So I recommend that if you prefer to play the game without anything influencing your experience, then go play the game first, come up with your own conclusion, and then come back here. Otherwise, I'll get started on what I believe the story is about, beginning with the ending of the game. they're dead. The brother and sister. With this information in mind, it clicked for me. My theory is as follows. The main character who we play as lived with his sister in a dystopian city that prioritizes industrial manufacturing. The world, nature, has already mostly died on the outside, so the population is seemingly forced to live in an extremely cramped city that's right next to the factories they work in. Growing up, he was bullied by others. For what reason, I'm not sure. But what I do know is that due to the environment they're in, life expectancy isn't the highest. That's why they all pass away. At some point, he and his sister were able to leave the confines of the city every once in a while, and they built a treehouse where I assume they spent a lot of time together due to its significance. Another major part is the spider itself and what it represents. That of oppressive fear. From the bullies, to working at the factory, to the machine guns, to the city he lives in, when he kills that spider, it's him getting over that fear and going out into the world with his sister. At some point, they both eventually pass away together. And the game we're playing is him in Limbo, the between of life and death. He's made very small, reliving all the worst parts in a metaphorical sense. The factory at the end, with new mechanics such as the changing gravity, represents how his life towards the last bitter second was spiraling more and more out of control, till he reaches the final gravity machine and slams through the glass. The glass represents two things: his acceptance of death, finally breaking through that wall, and properly passing into the afterlife. He finds his sister, who went through her own adventure in Limbo, waiting for him under the very same treehouse they built, and together, they go up to heaven. They died under their own treehouse. I'm glad I waited till now to play Limbo. It was an unforgettable experience, and it's a game that I won't forget. I do apologize that this video isn't in the usual jokey way. I decided to be a bit mischievous and go with something a bit different for this video, as it felt the most appropriate. Most of my content after this one will be in the more usual funny haha way, but every once in a while, if I'm feeling cheeky, I'll do another one that's in a similar tone to this one. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.